Are you in love and wondering if you should get married? Does what you have seem amazing and you fear that marriage could ruin it? Or are you married and wondering why you got married? Join me and let's look at the value of marriage. So, why should you get married? This is a common question in our culture today, and less people are choosing marriage. In 1920, 92.3% of women 15 years and older got married. In 2020, that has dropped to 31%. So there is a lot of common arguments against marriage, right? We've got increasing divorce rates, and the historical reasons for marrying are disappearing, right? You don't need the domestic partnership as much in regards to, in years ago, it was based on the men needing to protect the farm against the wild animals and, work in the hard labor of farming while women took care of the children and made the meals, right? And nowadays, you don't need it. It's not that way anymore. We have, there isn't really a reason to get married to have children because you can have children without being married, right? And then you've got women who are providing for themselves, so they no longer need a man to provide for them. So why should you get married? It is a big debate facing many young people. And as a couples coach and someone who's been married over 3 decades, I want to share with you some vital reasons that I invite you to strongly consider marriage and choose marriage, because marriage is the strongest vow you can make in this world. It is a vow that you make to one person that no matter what, you have the ability or the responsibility to keep that vow. So why is that valuable? Well, it's a commitment to love. Love is the most powerful force on this earth. If you really give yourself to learning to love another, it will change you and transform you and turn you into the best version of yourself that can exist in this world. That's what love does. Now, as Jordan Peterson says, that, committing to marriage is like, hey, I know you are trouble and I know I'm trouble and I won't leave you no matter what. Now that is a commitment. That is a vow and a value to give yourself to that is bigger than any other commitment you can give yourself to on this earth. Where else can you experience that kind of commitment, right? What it's going to do is it's going to bring you to face the problems, because all of us are trouble and we all have problems in ourselves that we need to face, that the marriage begins to bring to the surface. And when you have a commitment that I'm committed in this relationship and we're not going anywhere, right? Shortly after my husband and I got married, he said to me, we're in this for life, so we might as well make the best of it. And it brings you to want to face your problems. Now, as a couples coach, I get to coach non-married and married couples, and there is a distinct difference. I spend more time in conversation. The conversations I have with these couples are different, and they're the ones that are leading which conversations we have. The non-married couples, we talk a lot about maybe they aren't meant to be together, and why would they want to be together? And maybe this is a deal breaker, and I don't want to marry you. I might want to end this relationship and go find someone else. That is a very common conversation I have with non-married couples. With the married couples, it's different. We're talking overall about their desire to resolve their problems because they are together and they're committed to be together. So there is something that happens when you say those vows, when you say that marriage commitment, and you really mean it, that it brings you to recognize we got to face these problems. We got to overcome these troubles, or they're going to end what we have committed to. When you don't run away, you actually can solve your problems and you become a much better version of yourself. You become a person of character because you're one who can overcome and break through your problems, which strengthens the marriage. Running away is much easier. And that's the beauty of marriage, is it's the vow that says, I won't run away. It is the opportunity to grow personal responsibility. It brings you face to face with your real shadow. Every one of us have a shadow, and marriage is two people with shadows getting married. And it exposes that evil in us. It exposes what it is that we don't want to face in ourselves, that keeps coming up over and over and causing more problems and more challenges. That's the beauty of marriage, is within that marriage, you commit to face those things. My marriage has brought me to work harder than any other relationship. And my marriage is the most rewarding relationship I have, because we've faced the problems. Now, in the beginning of our marriage, we did not face the problems. And when we got to our 20th wedding anniversary, right before our 20th anniversary, our marriage fell apart. It was failing. There was infidelity. And we recognized that in the first 20 years of our marriage, we had created a living hell because we hadn't been willing to face the problems. And we've spent the last 13 years of our marriage, we reconciled and did choose to get married. And those vows meant something completely different. Those vows meant, okay, we really now get what marriage is, and it means that we're going to face our problems. We are going to commit and learn to overcome our problems together and face those things in ourselves we don't want to face. I want you to think about who you become without marriage, right? Like, my experience is, without marriage, we become pretty self-indulgent. And with marriage, it drives you, it forces you to become self-aware. And obviously it doesn't force you, like many people just choose to run away even though they said their vows. But when you really commit to marriage, and what you get to take responsibility for is your part, who are you committed to be in the vows you said? And if you're really committed, it's going to drive you to self-awareness. And your lack of self-awareness is what's creating the hell in your marriage. And if you don't want the hell in the marriage to turn into a divorce, you need to grow self-awareness. Marriage calls us to true love, not just for a bit, but love for a lifetime. And to truly learn to love another human being for a lifetime, that grows the deepest meaning in life. It grows the deepest character that any human can grow, to truly learn to love another for a lifetime. And I don't mean just, I know people who've been married a long time and they've just decided, hey, we're in it. We're not going to get divorced, but we're pretty miserable. That's not growing true love. And that's not really walking out your vow or your commitment to marriage. I'm talking about fully giving yourselves to each other. And the benefits that flow out of that are ongoing. One is you get to weave a joint story with another through a lifetime. And that is so beautiful. There's so much romance, so much depth, so much gratitude in that. Marriage gives you, it's someone to develop honest and open conversations. And you can't get the kind of open and honest communication you can have with someone you live with day in, day out, walk through raising children, walk through challenges, walk through growing careers together, walk through ailing parents. Whoa. You don't do that with anyone else. Sure, you may have a best friend, but that best friend doesn't live with you day in and day out. And so in a marriage, having someone you can develop that with, that is like nothing else. Having someone to walk through the hard things in life with, that you can rely on each other. Someone who can call you out when you're being stupid, because in many, many times in my life and in your life, you're going to be really stupid. And you need someone that loves you enough to tell you, loves you enough to stand with you in that and fight with you to move through that. Marriage gives you an incredible opportunity to be iron sharpening iron, to call out the greatness, to call up the greatness in each other. This is what we need if you want a meaningful life. You get to decide. And I invite you in your decision to take a look around, especially those who have thriving marriages, a 50, 60-year thriving marriage, versus people who are in their 70s or older and, they chose not to marry or they're divorced. Look at their character. The character of who they are is very different. Those who have chosen to give themselves fully to the vow of marriage, there is a humility, there is a depth of love, and they'll often tear up when they talk about love and what it is and what it means to them, because they have the most abundant, meaningful lives when you commit to you fully commit to carry out the vows of marriage. And again, the choice is yours. There is no right, there is no wrong. I just invite you to expand what you might be thinking about. And my hope is that that is what this conversation is inviting you to think deeper. If you do choose to get married, I invite you to recognize your need to develop open and honest communication from the beginning and get really clear on what both of you are committed to, because it's often when I make posts like this, people will say, well, that didn't work for me, right? Or my spouse gave up on me. Well, I want to encourage you to consider that the vow of marriage starts before you marry, because when the marriage doesn't become what you thought it was going to become, it's a lack of honest and open conversations from the beginning that you didn't have with yourself and that you didn't have with each other. And so if you're considering marriage, I invite you to develop those kind of conversations with each other, and don't just look at the words, look at the actions, look closely at the reactions. Results are the only thing that don't lie. Test each other, test the relationship. Show up and see what conversations have you not been willing to have, and what conversations do you need to have, and who do you become in those conversations? When life gets really hard, how do you show up with each other? And if you're contemplating marriage or struggling to solve problems in your marriage, I want to invite you to remember the resource of the Marriage Growth Community. It's a community that will stand with you and give you the tools that you need to develop these kind of conversations. Whether you're married yet or not, this community is for you. If the memberships are closed right now, make sure you join the wait list so you can join as soon as it's ready. It's in the link, or as soon as it opens. You can get the link in the comments or in the description under this video. So thank you for joining me. Thank you for considering the value of marriage. If you found this valuable, give it a thumbs up and make sure you subscribe to get more episodes like this. Let me know in the comments below what stood out for you. Thanks for joining me.